1267 traffic, 94 east of 90, correction, 94 east of 23.
Fine.
Unreadable plate. I think it's going to be your BOL dirt bike from earlier.
Yeah, and your eastbound 94 east of 23.
Affirm. Hello, sir. Trooper Sass, Michigan State Police. The reason I stopped you is you're not able to maintain freeway speeds.
No, I have to be the engine. It's 250, so it's going to be easier to implement.
Okay, so I understand that, but you can't be on the freeway with the that. What's that? You can't be on the freeway unless you're able to maintain 55 miles an hour.
I can't do that.
You were not maintaining 55 miles an hour.
I'm trying to be easy on the engine, but that's why I usually stay to the right side, but you know what I mean?
Okay, well, you were in the middle lane. You're not maintaining 55 miles an hour. Technically, that's a violation. People have been calling in saying that there's a dirt bike, they think, on the freeway.
Dirt bike?
Well, because you're going so slow, they think it's a dirt bike. So I'm going to escort you off to the next exit, and I'm not going to ticket you, but you can't be on the freeway, okay? You're not going fast enough for it. It doesn't look like you have working turn signals. It's not safe. Do you have your driver's license?
Yeah, my thing, and this is just when I got it over right now, eBay. It's taking all day to do, like 30 days in waiting, so it's been a long time, but
Okay. Do you have your driver's license on you?
I'm fine, I'll be going.
Okay, do you have your driver's license on you? Driver's license?
I'll be going, man. Come on, I'll get...
I need to see your driver's license. It's a traffic stop.
Oh, man, no.
What?
I said no.
Yeah, it's not an option. I need to see your driver's license.
No, I don't know.
You have violated the Michigan compiled laws, the Michigan Motor Vehicle Code. You're in violation of it. I initiated a traffic stop. You are required by law to present your ID to me. I'm not going to have it back and forth with you. I need to see your driver's license, registration, and insurance information on the vehicle. What?
I'm not saying I don't want to give it to him, but I don't have
You don't have one? Why are you driving then?
I'm not taking drive by, traveling by right.
You're traveling by right?
I've been doing law 28 years. So check it out. I know what state law says. See, state law doesn't say it. State law is in violation of higher law, which is federal statute 18 U.S.C. Hey, Title 18 United States Code Section 30, Section 610, right? Defines a motor vehicle. A person all need a license for. It seems that state law doesn't define what a motor vehicle truly is.
State law most certainly does define what a motor vehicle
It
is.
just says mechanically translated, but that's not a complete definition.
Okay, you have a license plate, right?
That looks like Guardian.
What's that?
That looks like Guardian I got it, but anyways,
So there's fraudulent use of a license plate.
negative M. 18 U.S.C. Section 31 from Section 6 and 10 defines a motor vehicle as one only being carrying passengers or property for profit.
Okay, sir, I understand and I respect that you have your opinion on that, okay? Okay? Michigan courts have gone through this time and time again, and it never works in your favor on this, okay? I respect that you have an opinion. However, the law that I was trained on as a peacekeeper in the state of Michigan does not, it's not the same thing. We have some sort of disconnect somewhere, okay? So in order to be operating a motor vehicle in the state of Michigan on a Michigan roadway, you need to have an operator's or chauffeur's group designation, that sort of thing.
I'm going to go to changing the state law. It's going to change. I already get called my system. But like I said again, remember, you guys should hold the Constitution. That's what you guys are obligated to follow.
Okay, I'm not a lawyer, right? I'm a police officer.
I'm not official bar, but I'm non-official.
Okay.
I've been 28 years.
Okay.
I know what I'm talking about. I've been a case on this already. South State cops told me I was going to ride my moped, guess what? I done the same shit. They didn't listen, guess what? Took the court and trial, guess what? Prosecutor, I need to dismiss this case because I cited the law just like they told you now. This is higher law. The state law is in violation of higher law. Federal statute made by Congress, right? 18 U.S.C. Section 31, Section 6 and 10. I'll show you my phone right now. That ain't just something on the phone. I've been going to law library and I checked. This ain't just something I'm reading on the phone. Right?
I understand that, but until we get told otherwise, you need to have a driver's license, okay?
Well, I'll walk it away.
Well, we're past that part now.
Let me show you. See, look, 18 U.S.C. Civil Law, Section 6 and 10. Now, the U.S. Supreme Court cases say the same thing as this. You know what? Because it's all part of our right to travel.
All right, so
the screen, look. The term motor vehicle, check it out, look. Now, this conflicts state law, but this overrides it with Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution. Federal law is supreme. Look. The term motor vehicle is then disturbed in care to contribute to the caliber form of the benefit to power and see how state law stops there. And for commercial purposes, I'm not subject to potentially go further about what.
Okay, sir, I understand. I understand.
Let me show you. That's why you're never gonna know nothing if you don't want to. If you don't want to listen.
Sir, I'm telling you, I understand what you're saying. Okay.
For profit. Commercial purposes means for profit.
I mean, if you scroll up, you'll probably see that is defining that motor vehicle. It's defining it for that section, not the entire motor vehicle, everything in the United States. Are you familiar with the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices? Are you familiar with that?
The what?
The Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices.
I mean, I think that's just something so important that they're letting law, actual law. Sometimes it's all those law, but this doesn't say, but I'm going to turn it up.
Okay.
This is actual law made by federal Congress, and Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution makes it clear that federal law is supreme, meaning it overrides.
Sir, I understand that.
So let's say state law.
Okay.
The Constitution right says, yes, I have a due process right, so what overrides? The due process.
Okay.
You have to ignore the state law.
I understand everything that you're saying. However, the courts have time and time again determined that to operate a motor vehicle, it is not overbearing that a state requires a ID.
U.S. Supreme Court determined we have the right to have don't need a license, registration, insurance, and none of that. Unless you're doing it like this. Unless you're carrying passenger copies of profit, that's because that is the privilege we have to right as humans, a God-given right in the Constitution.
Okay, so who's your vehicle titled under?
Huh?
Who's your title?
You really don't need to be there, but
so why do you have a registration plate on it then? That's fraudulent use. Where in that does it say that you're allowed to just violate law?
Already on there, but I did go to Secretary of State and I did register in my name.
Okay, so where's the registration for it?
They didn't. But they didn't know. It's sheets in my it's in my room. I don't know if they actually, because I didn't have the copies in my. The guy I bought it off, the guy got a face.
Okay.
He signed his copy, and I couldn't find the copy was in my room somewhere. So at the time we were down there, I didn't see the whole damn. This is not the signed copy.
Okay.
So I got to go back again and you're showing the signed copy from you.
Okay. So you're in violation of multiple statutes. So at this point, it's an investigation as in addition to a traffic stop, okay? So regardless of the license thing, there are still things that you are required to do to operate a motor vehicle, whatever the definition may be.
I know there are still restrictions. This is really all part of my Constitution, which otherwise say that you own my own property.
So where in the Constitution does it say you're not required to follow state law? Because I have state laws that say...
It violates the Constitution.
It doesn't violate the Constitution, though.
It's the Constitution.
Okay, well that's where we're in disagreement. So
that's not what we know, so that's the record. It's the Constitution due process, right? Isn't that to enjoy personal property? To own and use your own private property. Yes, that's what it is.
Okay.
I have it on video. When I bought it from the guy, if you know what's going on, I bought it from the guy on Facebook Marketplace. I got that recorded, and I do have the signed copy from him. So So it's my private property. Whether a state law doesn't recognize it or
Okay. So how about your insurance? Is it insured?
no,
It's not insured? We can't be operating on Michigan roadways if it's not insured.
it's not a motor vehicle. A motor vehicle is only when
So this is not a motor vehicle,
no.
despite the fact there's a motor right there.
I understand it's common under the people that don't know the law. Think it's a motor vehicle, but I just showed you the statute. A motor vehicle is only being used for profit, and the reason that is because the U.S. as the U.S. Supreme Court said, and the people have the right to travel, and it's a right, not a privilege. That's you don't need to.
Okay, so there's a difference there, okay? You can travel interstate commerce, all that good stuff. Driving is a privilege, not a right.
Driving is a commercial, because that's what they don't teach you guys, maybe, or they don't make sure.
All right, do you have any paperwork for this vehicle at all or no?
Not on me, no, because like I said, the big sheet I had, the 8.5 by 12, is this has
What is that 8.5 by 12?
they have
The title or what?
huh?
Is it the title or what? Okay, how long ago did you buy it? How long ago did you buy it?
I mean, you also got that gate, but it's not like you're something.
Okay,
General.
all right.
The state of Michigan versus Eric Martin.
Rachel McDuffie for the people.
And standby counsel, Assistant Public Defender Jay Bellinger for Mr. Eric Martin, who appears via Zoom. Mr. Martin, can you please unmute and state your name for the record?
I'm a living man, capital E, lowercase R-I-C, of the capital M, lowercase A-R-T-I-N family. One of the people, sovereign, not a legal fiction corporate entity defendant with a name similar to mine. And here by special appearance to threaten duress, not willingly. Now, again, I object again to any attorney being appointed to me, representing me, but that's something I want to ask you, Washington. Now, you said you're appointing this public defender. Are you appointing it for me or are you appointing it for you? Or is it
So
just
I've
standby?
already made my decision on that. It's standby counsel. If you have motions to make, you need to make those at this time.
Yeah, that's how I need. I'm seeking clarification. Are you appointing him against my will to have an attorney appointed for me?
Yes, it's not representing you. He's standby counsel. Please make your motions.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's how I was going to make the motion to dismiss him if he's if you're trying to appoint him for me, which, as I already said before, I will not be taking no attorneys. I'm one of the people. I'm not a defendant who's, yeah. So as I said before, so I'm not going to be accepting any attorneys who's going to fraudulently assume I'm a defendant, and which would then fraudulently give the presumption I'm under the jurisdiction of the court, which I'm not. As I said before,
Sir, you got 5 minutes to make your arguments, and you can spend them however you want to.
I'm a living man. So as the U.S. Supreme Court said in the cases I cited to you before, there's no jurisdiction over a living man. Corporations don't have jurisdiction over a living man without our consent. I don't consent. And it's also under, there's no consent under the Declaration of Independence of 1776. There's no jurisdiction over a human without their consent. So I never consented to jurisdiction, and I don't now, and I never will. Now I have some questions, though, for the prosecutor. That's
Sir, you don't get to ask questions. If you want to have a motion, you can make those.
well, I object to that. That violates my right to a due process. It's relevant to a standing argument as to the prosecutor, whether they have standing or not. I think that's relevant to move forward or not. You know, there's no standing, shouldn't move forward. But so, what's your ruling on that?
Your motion is denied as to jurisdiction and standing. Now, do you have any additional motions?
I object to that because you didn't allow me to answer the questions to see whether whether you had a legit basis to make that ruling.
Your objection is noted. Next.
Okay. let's see here. You say you're going to be questioning me about the some demands that made to dismiss the case anyway, right?
I'm sorry, what?
You said you're going to be addressing some demands for dismissal I made or sent to you already. You're going to
First of
be
all, a demand is not a proper format before a court and could be dismissed outright. However, I'm going to allow you to make your motions here. If you want to make an argument, you can do that, sir.
okay, I object to that. That's not true. As I mentioned before, demands, when someone has the right to something, that's what the terminology demand is made. And that's the only reason why I make it. Motions, even though I know that's all you see in the court rules or whatever, traditional. But that's for a request, and persons are not, or humans are not supposed to be requesting constitutional rights. You know, me exercising my unalienable right, human rights and constitutional rights, I'm supposed to be making demands. That's how I've been, and that's backed up by law. And that's how I've been taught. And so that's what, so it's all right and proper. Motions are requests, and the defendant makes motions also, since I'm
So you're
disputing.
about to end of your 5 minutes.
Well, I objected 5 minutes being any time limit also. That violates
I don't care.
putting a limit on my First Amendment right. That's unconstitutional.
Sir, please, if you want to have something to say other than the circular talk that you're doing, you should probably do that at this time.
I didn't finish. That's why I didn't mean to, none circular. I didn't finish the first time. All right, well, that's it. As to that,
Is the court ready for the people's response run?
I don't know if he's done with his motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm trying to make.
well, the police, I want to question the police officer who wrote the ticket. I have a relevant question to him as to self-incrimination, move to dismiss the case based on that, because he made me give, my ID. But my memory was it's a little, I don't really remember exactly what was said. That's why I kind of need to question him to refresh the memory. But I do remember in general, though, he kind of, I'm required to give my ID if I remember right, and I might have been arrested if I didn't give my ID, which was under threatened arrest. And even if he didn't say that, which I don't remember, which, like I said, I need to have his body cam and all that. I want to be able to review that now, and also for the trial, if this goes to trial, I want the video present as part of my due process right for the evidence, which is my due process right, like I'm saying. And because, like I said, it violates my self-incrimination right, that I'm being made to give my supposed name, government name anyways, which ain't really my name, but a government name has been given. Violates self-incrimination. And then it's used against me to prosecute. So it violates self-incrimination. Yeah. Move to dismiss based on that too. And like I said, if you need more evidence as to, like I said, his questions, then he needs to answer my question. I was about to send out interrogatories to him. I'm about to do it here soon. If you find that's necessary, unless you find it ain't necessary, I'm gonna send it out soon. So. Oh, another thing. Now, Mrs. Washington, I just filed a federal civil lawsuit on you, for violating my constitutional rights during this case. So you may want to consider recusing yourself. I know you probably didn't get a receipt yet because I just sent it out like 2 days ago. So the court will be getting it, if they didn't get it already, be getting it this week. And yeah, so I want that out.
As to your motion to recuse, that is denied.
Based on what reasons? Conflict of interest is my reason. That's why I didn't mention that, but I thought you might kind of already figure that. But conflict of interest due to the lawsuit being filed, that's the grounds of my demand for dismissal.
Okie dokie.
And I would like to, Ms. Duffy, as the prosecutor, I'd like to notify you, of the crimes being committed against me by the police officer, in this case, writing the tickets, and I request you prosecute them for this, because I'm the crime victim here in reality. Because I was traveling by right, which the U.S. Supreme Court said we have, as long as you're not carrying passengers property for profit, you're not technically driving a motor vehicle. Therefore, all these charges are baseless. There's no case here. So in reality, I was harassed, retaliated against for exercising my right to travel on my motorcycle, and then with these charges. Okay, so because they had no evidence that I was carrying passenger property for profit, which is what's required. That's the definition of a motor vehicle under 18 USC section 31 subsection 6 and 10. That's when a motor vehicle is a motor vehicle. In contrast to the state law, I know what the state law says. The state law just says, oh, if something's mechanically drawn, it's a motor vehicle. Well, the state statute is in violation of this federal statute. Therefore, it's unconstitutional. Okay, and therefore, the federal statute definition of motor vehicle applies here. It overrides the state statute under Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution. Laws of the United States is supreme over state law. So therefore, I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was traveling by right on my motorcycle, as I have a right to do, without a license, without registration, without insurance. So I was all within my right under that federal statute and the U.S. Supreme Court case law that I cited already in the court that they sent back. But one of the main cases here is Packard versus Banton, U.S. Supreme Court case law. Okay, this is a little more specific than just saying people have a right to travel. It mentions there specifically, and I'm gonna mention right here, volume 44, Supreme Court Reporter, page 259. The streets belong to the public and are primarily for the use of the public in the ordinary way. Their use for the purposes of gain is special and extraordinary, and generally at least may be prohibited or conditioned as the legislator deems proper. As they're saying right there, so we do not need a license if we're not using the streets for profit, for gain. I wasn't doing that. The police don't have no evidence of that. So he shouldn't even pull me over, stop and wrote a ticket, none of that. So I'm the crime victim. I request you prosecute him for that. And it's also a federal crime, which I'm going to be contacting the FBI about. I already tried once. I got to call him back. So, yes.
Anything else, Mr. Martin?
Well, I'm going to see if you got my, if you're going to, I would like to just reiterate my, the demands for dismissal already made, or if you want to call them motions, but like I said, I like using the word demand because I want to, I don't agree to no unlawful presumptions that, because I understand the legalese a little bit where you say one word and it means something else and it's presumed. And that's why I demand also that there be no legalese used in no stages of this case, because that's one of the fraudulent things going on in the court system. I'm going to be filing a class action to stop this on a grand scale, but I know it's happening. That's why, like, for example, I use the word demand to use the word motion, and it can be presumed you're a defendant. Because defendants make motions, see? So that's why there should be no legalese used here. It's fraudulent, it's wrong, it's immoral, it's pathetic. Whoever made this stuff, because it's putting it's a blanket on a lot of people that don't know no better in the system.
Right, thank you, sir. Ms. McDuffie.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I am aware of 5 items that have been filed by Mr. Martin, I think after this case began to be pending in this court. And I'll just briefly address the as to the formatting of those. I did notice all of them are handwritten. He does write a date on the top of each document, but then he usually signs off with a different date on the bottom of the document. So if it ever comes into play that there's an issue with the timing with respect to deadlines or anything like that, for my purposes, I'm just going by the date that it was received by the court, which is usually a third date that is different from the other two. So the first document I'm aware of is titled Demand for the Return of My Motorcycle. That one was received by the court July 27th. Defendants specifically ordered and demanded that the troopers from Michigan State Police return his motorcycle in this case. That is a request to police that was filed with the court. No response appears to be required or called for from the people, so I don't have anything to say about that. Next, the motion that was filed for the disqualification of the judge in this case. I just wanted to point out a couple things. First and foremost, as Mr. Martin pointed out, the court rule that relates to disqualification of judges, MCR 2.003, speaks to the exact procedure for that. In a single judge court, and actually the challenge judge here is the chief judge, the challenge judge is the person who decides this motion. So I don't have any argument to make as far as that, but I would point out there is a quote included in that particular motion that challenges this court's jurisdiction. And it cites a case from Penhallow versus Domes Administrators. That's a case from 1795. And the specific quote that was cited in that case to challenge this court's jurisdiction, it begins with something about, in as much as every government is an artificial person, a creature of the mind only, all that stuff about artificial persons. I think Mr. Martin already made some references to that. I just want to make sure that Mr. Martin is aware that specific quote does not exist in that case whatsoever. That quote that he used to challenge this court's jurisdiction doesn't exist anywhere, except for other cases where sovereign citizens have copied and pasted that non-existent case law, and they've been told the same by other courts. So apparently there's like a bank of things to be shared amongst people making this argument, just so he knows and everybody else out there knows that does not exist. It's not a thing. It's nowhere in that case. That full text of that case can be Googled for free. You will not find that quote. The same is true of another case he cited, Keller versus Potomac Electric Power. That's from 1923. That case also does not include that quote, those words, or anything even slightly resembling that argument regarding the power he believes is lacking here due to municipal court status. But FYI, the Michigan District Court Act of 1968 did abolish most of the municipal courts. 4 of them are left that they did allow to remain. All of those are in Wayne County. We're in Washington, so just so that Mr. Martin is aware, this is not a municipal court, it's a district court. Finally, as to the motion to disqualify, as I mentioned, that is for the judge to decide. Next document that was filed from this court, it's titled Martin versus Mike. Plaintiff's response and objections to my return criminal complaint on Mike and the attached court letter that vaguely, unfairly stated filings does not comply with MCR 6.101 and 6.102. I didn't have a letter attached to that to refer to, but it looks like that is the court's rejection of an improper filing or format. I honestly have no idea who Mike is, but the people of the state of Michigan are not listed as a party in that filing, so I don't really have any response to that either. I can advise, though, that Mr. Martin mentioned earlier and is stated here that the reference to this criminal complaint, because a defendant refers to himself as a plaintiff and titles something as a criminal complaint, it doesn't make either of those things true. So I'll direct Mr. Martin to the same court rule he actually cited in that filing, which is MCR 6.101. The prosecutor's approval or posting of security. A complaint may not be filed without a prosecutor's written approval endorsed on the complaint or attached to it, or unless security for cost is filed with the court. I just wanted to disabuse him of that notion that because he creates a criminal case, I guess in his mind and on paper, it doesn't mean that that exists in reality. So nothing more from that. The court's rejection of an improper filing really isn't my business, so no response from opposing counsel would apply to that. The last 2 things that were filed before the court are 2 demands. One demand for default judgment and another demand for summary judgment. The demand for summary judgment, summary disposition concerns parties to a civil action, and defendant is referring to civil procedure, not criminal procedure. There is no summary anything of that notion in criminal matters. Now, he made some references to Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution. That pertains to federal courts, appointment, tenure, Supreme Court justices, federal circuit and district judges. Those are Article 3 judges. Those are the ones nominated by the president, confirmed by the U.S. Senate. So this court is not controlled by Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution. But I think he knows that because he's citing Michigan court rules to sustain his argument for pretty much everything else. So that doesn't change here. Summary judgment is not a thing here. Default judgment. Now, that's not quite the way it works. I think he argued that because the prosecutor in court did not respond to the request to return his motorcycle for that first filing that I mentioned, that he should have a default judgment and he should automatically get what he's demanding because he didn't respond to it. Well, I'm responding right now, but that's not how it works either. Again, this is kind of a civil issue. There are cases where there are default judgments filed, but those are civil actions. We have traffic tickets that defendants fail to appear and get a default judgment. But if that were the case, I would have a default judgment of conviction for every criminal case where defendants fail to appear. People are on bench warrant status for 6 to 20 years at a time. I don't get automatic default convictions. So again, that's really not what's happening here. So those are the 5 things that I'm aware of. Now, finally, if it were true that, as Mr. Martin stated, that federal law trumps all state law, and that all state law and state courts are unconstitutional, the state court system would not exist, and the U.S. Supreme Court would not hear cases resulting from the need to interpret state law. Mr. Martin has yet to hear, as all of us do, of state constitutions and the power of the state courts that come from those being abolished. So his reference was correct, that there are people in this system who don't know any better and don't know what they're doing. I don't think present company is excluded from that. So on that note, Mr. Martin, if you want to continue without an attorney, you can, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Well, I think that she said so much. I took some notes, but I couldn't take notes on everything. Hard to follow along with everything else. I think it's best to, same with me too. I say one thing, allow her to respond back. She says one thing, then allow me to respond at one set of, you know what I mean? Like me saying the whole bunch, and then her saying a whole bunch, because it's hard to follow along for both of us, I think, harder. At least me, and for both, I think it's common sense, but all right, well, so I'm gonna respond now to the things I could follow along with, and I took some notes, but I couldn't. I'm gonna need her to say again what I missed, and then I can respond one by one. Okay.
It's not how this is gonna work, sir.
That's
I
not
think
how.
to understand here,
I have the right to that. What are you talking
you're
about?
not controlling this courtroom, sir. That's not how this works.
As I'm speaking about what I have a right to do, I have a right to respond back. So
You're
all right,
gonna get 5 minutes and I'm gonna be done. So that is your opportunity. And after that, I'm gonna make my rulings. You got
So-
5 minutes. I'm actually setting a timer.
all right. Again, I object to that again as being violates my due process right to the First Amendment. It's not supposed to be regulated by a certain time limit. My First Amendment right to say what I got to say, based on an arbitrary, unfair time limit.
Sir, in a minute, you're pushing towards being in contempt of court. You got 5 minutes. You can make your objection, which you've done. You have 5 minutes. Now please move forward.
Criminal. Okay, I want to object to that too, though, about what you said about contempt of court. Exercising the First Amendment is not contempt of court. It's nowhere close to that.
There's no First Amendment right in this courtroom, so you're a defendant. You need to actually do what is requested of you, and I'm giving you an opportunity to make your argument.
As to the criminal complaints, in response to what you said about that MCR, the refusal to act on my criminal complaints that I filed because of MCR 6.101. And now, first of all, it violated my due process right, obviously, because they didn't mention a subdivision, a subsection of that rule. There's many subsections. Okay. So I'm still left in the dark and what Pacific subdivision subsection it is. And all those apply to specific fact situations. So that was the first due process violation right there, just mentioning that too vaguely general. Number 2, but assuming it was based on not paying a fee or whatever, I think like she mentioned, or getting a prosecutor's approval. Okay, if it is for that reason, those reasons are unconstitutional and therefore it's invalid. That court rule. That's why I'm going to file a class action actually on the court rule. And I'm going to get that court rule and get up out of there because it's not legit. Why it's not legit? Because as I cited in there, I'm pretty sure I cited in there. If I didn't, I have to check my paperwork. But I'm pretty sure I cited in there, it violates the court rule on, not the court rule, the Michigan Constitution part that says people have the right to prosecute their own cases. In Article 1, I forget the exact section, but I mentioned in my paper, in some future paperwork anyways, I know that if I didn't do it on this one, in the very first one, because I didn't know, what the hell subsection it was talking about. They didn't mention it, but I know I mentioned in some later ones sent to you guys. But anyway, so yeah, so it violates that right, and also the U.S. Supreme Court case Murdoch versus Pennsylvania, and I got the volume number, page, and all that. I think I said to you guys before in the paperwork. It says that you cannot deny someone's constitutional rights by trying to make them pay money for something. Bringing something to the courts a right to be heard is a right. I don't have to pay money for that, criminal or civil case. Okay, so it violates due process. So all that's legitimate. They're illegitimate, that is, their arguments are using for that. Supposed to be acted on regardless of a prosecutor's approval or not. Okay, anyways, now as to her asking who's Mike, he's the manager at Area Towing. But she would have read it. It was in that document to explain that. So, okay. Anyways, as to the Penhollow, what she said about the quote about the Penhollow case. Okay, now first I want to say, regardless of the Penhollow case, what she said, the Declaration of Independence of 1776 makes it clear the government has no power over the people. They derive their power from the consent of the governed anyways. That's something that's clear right in there. Okay. The consent of the governed. I never consented and never will. So, number two, now her saying the quote, I was just recently going to the law library. I'm going to need more time to respond to that. But I didn't have enough time to go over the Penhollow case, but if I remember it, I was just in the law school law library recently trying to verify that quote, because a lot of these quotes that I got, that I'm citing in the court, some of them I have read and some of them I haven't. This Penhollow case, I'm not sure on that. I admit that. I have to double check myself because a lot of these I get online, YouTube, and a lot of them have been shown up to be legit. In the Penhollow case, if I vaguely remember, I think I did have a problem myself finding that quote, saying that exactly like that. But that's not saying it doesn't stand for that proposition. I'm sure it still does. I just got to go back to the law library and read it again. If I did read it, I kind of don't remember because I got a lot of stuff I'm doing. But yeah. So bottom line, I gotta check up on that case. So it'd be premature to rule on it yet, as to whether that Penhollow case is illegitimate to stand for that proposition. But I know U.S. Supreme Court cases still say it because it's all based off the Declaration of Independence. So there should be no doubt on that. And U.S. Supreme Court cases exist that say that Declaration of Independence is part of federal law, United States Supreme Court law, and it's the basis of the Constitution, so it's legit. That as of the proposition that governments have no power over a human without our consent. All right, now as to the summary judgment that she mentioned, Chapter 2 doesn't apply. That is not true, because since there's not a summary judgment in Chapter 6 of the criminal rules, then I forget exactly where it mentions that, but it's in the court rules or another law. But I remember reading it, it's been a while, that they make it clear that where there's not, where there's not a relevant or similar proceeding in, Chapter 6, then Chapter 2 is used for criminal cases. So that just totally, it's not true. So the summary judgment, it does apply in criminal cases because there's nothing in Chapter 6. And regardless of that, in regards to the court rules, you got to remember, court rules follow the Constitution is the top dog anyway. That's the top law anyways. And due process right to have some considered and ruled on and denied in my case. I mean, the case dismissed because based on my constitutional rights. That's just something I have a right to anyways under the Constitution, regardless of court rules. Because the court rules come after the Constitution anyways, and they don't always follow the Constitution.
All right, 5 minutes are up.
All right. So I got more to say, but so I'm gonna move for an extension of time on that, based on my First Amendment right. I got some more to say.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, Mr. You wanted to move for an extension, so I just want to be, are we selecting a jury next week or no? It sounds like he wants to talk more.
He does want to talk more, but I'm not adjourning it for that purpose. The motion in this particular case to return the motorcycle has already been addressed through the court regarding the fact that the court doesn't do that. He also filed lawsuits against individuals. Those were also rejected by this court as improper. And those, there's nothing to really address about that. It's already been decided. His motion to dismiss is denied. Despite his understanding of the law, and I'm not certain which law school he went to, summary disposition does not apply to criminal cases and is denied. And same is true for default in criminal cases. That is also denied. Jurisdiction is with this court, as I've ruled before, and I will not be addressing this issue again. The motion to dismiss is denied. There was one point that he did make with respect to due process that is going to compel where we go with this. He does not get to question officers except for in a trial. However, he is entitled to discovery in this case. And he mentioned that he did not receive a copy of the video, if there is a video, or if there's body cam, he's making a demand for that. And he is entitled to have a copy of any body cam that exists in this case and a copy of any police reports that exist in this case. So those items need to be turned over to the defendant so that he can properly prepare for any trial. And trial right now is scheduled for 1 week, so I don't think it would give him a proper opportunity to prepare. I will remove this from the trial docket for this upcoming week to and there is one place in which criminal cases does have a demand, and that is a demand for discovery. So I think he is making that demand for discovery, and I am going to require that the prosecutor provide him with that.
Absolutely, Your Honor. I think the issue was the standby counsel and him rejecting representation. So normally this is routed to the PD's office, but since I think it's been reaffirmed today that I'll figure it out. We'll get it done somehow.
What do you have an email, or are you just gonna, Mr. Martin, are you requesting to have the documentation sent to you via mail or email? How do you plan to receive it, sir?
First, I want to refer to me as Mr. Because I understand that's another one of the term Mr. is another one of the what's the words I'm looking for? I forget what it's called here.
All right, you can you would like to figure it out to get him that documentation, and I'm going to give you a new date.
What's that? I can't hear you, dude.
I said, are you guys inspired with this? Go back shit and all that, you don't have to. I'll see you in court. Criminal charges, lawsuits, you will be getting money.
All right, sounds good. So, sir, let me explain some stuff to you.
How many times do it's that your tail. You're in violation of the law in reality. The state laws are in violation of the higher law. So,
okay, I'm going to go print off his tickets, I guess. So.
I'm going to beat in court. I'm going to make you guys give you this bag, and you can pay for it out of your paychecks. You're violating that. Now, then you get
He's off today. He's off today. He is off today.
I want to supervise you're talking about. It might not happen, but I'm requesting it.
Contact the police.
Traffic stop. You don't have insurance, so get off the bike. That's not. Insurance, I just showed you. I don't need insurance. No, I don't. Okay, we'll see. I just showed you. You guys are in violation of the Constitution. I mean, you took oath of the Constitution, which means, you know what? You guys are committing perjury now. Because you lied. Yeah, well, you got an argument with me, you already know. You guys ain't too smart. I did all this stuff. I showed it. I know it. I know a lot better than you. You call yourself being long.
There's good to tell. They're gonna tow your bike, sir. Sir, they're gonna tow your bike, okay? So they can take your helmet off.
Stealing my property too. It's called stealing property.
Good morning, Mr. Martin. Can you hear me? You're muted. Now calling case number 23S00425. This is the state of Michigan versus Eric Martin. Can I have appearances for the record, please?
Stephanie Cannon with the Washtenaw Public Defender's Office with and on behalf of Mr. Martin, who is present, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Martin, can you please state your name for the record?
Capital E, lowercase R-I-C, capital M, lowercase A-R-T-I-N.
Okay, thank you, sir. Today
Hold on.
is the date and time set for an arraignment in this matter. What I am seeing is that you failed to appear for a court date on February 1st and that you failed to appear for another court date on March 14th. Therefore, a bench warrant did issue for your arrest. Do you understand?
No, I do not understand, and I do not stand under the charges. I am one of the sovereign living people.
Okay,
Uh,
sir,
and
I'm not asking you if you agree with me. I am asking if you understand the words that I just said to you.
Well, I do not understand. I might comprehend, but I do not understand, and that I do not stand under the charges. And I am not a defendant. I am a living human sovereign. I'm not the legal fiction corporate entity, all capital letter name.
Attorney
I
Cannon.
do not accept an attorney.
Thank you,
fire
Your
any
Honor. At
attorney.
this time, he would stay on mute and ask for a PR bond.
Objection. You're not speaking for me. You're not my attorney. If you think you're my attorney.
Thank you for the attempt, Attorney Cannon. You can turn your camera off.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Martin. At this time, I am seeing that your license has been revoked. You have failed to appear for court dates in front of Judge Washington. You were to have a sentencing hearing and a pretrial date in front of her, so that is what I am going to set you for now.
I need you to repeat to me again the case number of this case. Couldn't get it all when you said it first time.
The case number is 23S00425.
23S 00
4.
23S. Hold on. 23S00, right? Yeah. Okay, after that, what else?
4,
Okay.
2,
Yeah.
5.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Yes, 00425. All right. That
Okay.
wasn't finished. Cut me off.
Okay.
I had more to say.
Sir, I
You're
am
cutting
setting
me-
you for another. Yes, I am, because what I am doing today is arraigning you, and I am setting you for another court date in front of Judge Washington. That court date will be April 11th, 2024. That will be at 9 a.m. That will be for your pretrial and potentially your sentencing.
I can't remember all this at once. The date is when again?
April
Yep.
11th,
Yep.
9 a.m.
All right.
That is 9 in the morning.
Okay. Got that. What else?
It will be over Zoom, like this hearing.
Right. Okay, now. Okay, is that it for that? Okay, now. Let me ask, so does she call herself, is this a separate charge?
I'm not
The failure
entirely
to
sure what you're asking. So what happened here was that a bench warrant was issued for your failure to appear. At this time, to guarantee your appearance at the court date on April 11th at 9 a.m., that warrant will continue.
Okay, that wasn't intentional, so that's why it's baseless. It's baseless, and it shouldn't have been a warrant issue because
Okay, sir, you've got your next court date. That's April 11th at 9 a.m. The bench warrant is continued. This hearing is concluded, and you are free to sign out of Zoom.
So I have more to say. I'm not done saying what I have to say. Pursuant to my First Amendment right, I have more to say here. That is,
You guys please shame yourself too, violating the people's right to own it. Violating our right to own it. This is my private property. It's a constitutional right. Please shame yourself. All in trying in the name of military dictatorship. There's a state statute said that every time a state statute says something, that's all like a blind idiot that can't think for yourself. What if a state statute says kill your mother? You gonna do it? No, you got enough sense. No. Federal law says no, and my brain says no. Common sense. My morality says no. It ain't about state statutes. They make all types of state statutes. There's all types of unconstitutional now, which I'm gonna change. Every single one of them I see. Constitution, for example. That's unlawful. It violates the rules. They want to buy it. I'm changing all that. There's all types of state laws. Taxes. It's stealing.
You want your helmet or no?
Yeah, I'm taking it out.
All right. Sounds good. All right, we're ready.
You guys should be doing something about it. I know it's really him, but you guys, if you don't do something, I'm with it too. Yeah, to try as I just showed you. Okay, well, okay, they don't do screen as I wouldn't have lost. I'm gonna buy me a brand new motorcycle. I'm gonna still ride no license. Why?
I don't care. I don't care.
That's why I'm changing all the laws to make it clear. You know, I'm gonna say, watch where I mark my
Well,
words.
by then I'll be retired, so
Maybe, but it's gonna change.
I'll be retired by then.
State senator about this shit.
I'll be retired.
Cops harassing the people for exercising our right to travel.
I'll be retired by then.
Well, I don't know how. I already know this is all just a game. Try to get by the people, steal our money. I ain't gonna tolerate it. That's what I'm saying. It's in the process. It's gonna happen. We have a lot of money. All we're doing is making the DMV rich. Getting the license. You don't even need it.
We don't have DMV.
No, the DMV.
We don't have we don't have that here.
I'm talking about no, but all the people were paying our money in the DMV.
We don't have DMV here in Michigan. So Michigan?
The Department of Motor Vehicles.
It's not DMV, it's Secretary of State.
Still Department of Motor Vehicles.
Secretary of State. It's still Secretary of
They're
State.
dealing with motor vehicles, but they're
Other states have DMV, we have Secretary of State. Well, there is a difference. You want specifics, it's not DMV.
regardless. Secretary of State, DMV, they're all the same bitch up. It's like a sign of shit. You need a license when the federal law says they don't lie state law. So we should have made the state law. They don't.
I've been through this thousands of times. You're not going to get no money, so whatever. No, I've been through this thousands of times.
You want to say you want to follow state law instead of the Constitution. You took the oath of hope, which you know they're gonna is pretty much override. So that overrides state law. You don't use that as piece of court. Let's say all this. Guess what? How many government state Constitution says this?
Oh, the magistrate will love to see it.
Yeah, we got it.
All right, the court will call the case of the state of Michigan versus Eric Martin, case number 23S00425.
Rachel McDuffie for the people.
Mr. Eric Martin, please unmute your device, and state your name.
can you hear me?
I can now, sir.
Capital E, lowercase R-I-C, of the capital M, lowercase A-R-T-I-N family, a living sovereign, one of the people.
Assistant Public Defender Don Lebo as standby counsel.
Thank you. We're here for a pretrial today. And a bench warrant is still outstanding for Mr. Martin.
That's correct, Your Honor. As it relates to the pretrial, I believe the last time that we saw Mr. Martin, it was on December 7th, and he had some difficulty viewing the video that we had sent via flash drive. I encouraged him to get with his standby counsel, who at that time was APD Sandra White. He did not appear at that next hearing, but she did confirm that they had spoken almost every day and that they had reviewed the video. So my understanding is that Mr. Martin has been able to view the complete discovery, including all of the media. I know that we were headed to a jury trial, so I will leave it to Mr. Martin to confirm that so we can get going with selection.
Mr. Martin?
Yeah, I looked at the video, and I found I looked at the video, and I also found some demands to dismiss, some self-incrimination based on the video, along with some others that have not been decided on, which should be decided on before any trial scheduled or anything else.
Mr. Martin, I've decided on all the motions that you've brought before me. And the way this works is if I make a motion ruling, then the party making that motion has to prepare the order. So when you complain about no orders being prepared, that's your not preparing them, sir.
What do you mean not preparing?
I think my words were very clear.
I understand what you're saying. You're saying because I didn't file it as a motion or something? What are you saying?
I'm saying that I already ruled on them. So when I rule on them, it's up to the party to prepare them. That's you.
I did prepare them. Specifically, my demand to dismiss.
Sir, you did not prepare my ruling order, which was that they are denied.
What do you mean they're denied, but you didn't rule on it? How does that happen?
Do you have anything else? Yes, Ms. McDuffie.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I did just want to clarify one point because Mr. Martin, I think, mentioned that he had he wanted to move to dismiss based on incriminating statements after he had reviewed the video. So I don't know if there's a sort of Miranda issue he's raising or not, but I would just, I guess for the record, remind Mr. Martin that when he appeared for the hearing on the 5 documents that he filed, demands, motions, whatever you want to call those, Mr. Martin, during that hearing, rattled off the fact that he did not have a valid license, his vehicle wasn't registered, and he didn't have insurance and didn't feel like he needed to do any of those things. So if there are any incriminating statements that would relate to the counts in this case, he has made them multiple times, including on the record in this court at his own hearing. So if any statements were suppressed from that media, they would still come in from statements he's made in court.
Well, I object to the third one is self-incriminating. As I pointed out and stated in my demand to dismiss, as the U.S. Supreme Court said, license ain't necessary. We're not using the streets for profit, which the cops have no evidence.
Mr. Martin, you're going to need to speak up if you want to have a transcript of this because it's not.
I'm speaking up.
Let's see, Heather. Okay. Can you bring the microphone closer to you, Mr. Martin?
Yeah, let me see.
I'm sorry.
Kind of a little closer now. How's that?
Is that any better?
How's that?
How's that? That one clear. Yeah, please keep talking in the same volume that you're using right now so we can hear it.
Well, I object to what she just said about I made some self-incriminating statements. That's not true because as I pointed out in my demands to dismiss, the law is in my favor, the higher supreme law, such as the statute, which is supreme law of the land under Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution. Federal statutes override state statutes, along with the Packer versus Benton case I cited and sent a quote from the law book on that clearly said from the U.S. Supreme Court that the people have a right to use the roads, not a privileged right. And as long as you're not using the streets for profit, which I wasn't doing, and there was no evidence and the cops have no evidence of that. So I was exercising my right to travel, didn't need a license, insurance, registration, none of that. So nothing self-incriminating about what I say. There's no legit case here. And which is why I beat a case on the same exact issue in Southgate. Same exact issue. Prosecutor moved to dismiss it because they know they had to win the case. The higher law is in my favor. The state law is unconstitutional. That's assuming everyone's driving a motor vehicle when they're not. And I'm working to change that state law, and I'm going to. I already got a federal lawsuit filed on it in the Detroit courthouse on Lafayette Boulevard. Right now, I got to fight one about filing fees, but when I overcome that, they'll be deciding on the merits, and I will be winning on that issue, and the state law will be changed. It's going to stop making the presumption, the state statute law, that everyone's driving a motor vehicle, even when it's not for profit. That's the problem with the state law. It's unconstitutional. Cops are blindly following that, acting as if that, and then the so-called courts are acting on that presumption. No, everyone's driving a motor vehicle. They need a license, insurance. So no, they don't. They're not doing it for profit. They're exercising the right to travel.
So, Your
I'm
Honor,
putting a
since
stop to it.
Mr. I'm sorry, Mr. Martin, since Mr. Martin has again made those same statements that I referred to earlier, and this prosecutor will not be dismissing anything in this case, we will be proceeding to trial if he doesn't want to plead to it. Let me ask the court if I could. Are we ready to set this? I understand he has a desire to file an endless amount of lawsuits and grievances and motions, but the court has indicated we are past that point. Are we ready to set this case for jury selection or no?
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
All right, any motion that was just made, whatever he's entitling that, is denied.
So you deny something, you don't even know what it is. But anyways, you still have, there's still demands to dismiss that haven't been ruled on as a matter of law, which what a lot of them are, such as the state as a party. I filed a demand to dismiss because the state is the party here. Plaintiff. The state in this court, so-called court, has no jurisdiction, as I indicated in my demand under the U.S. Constitution. Only the
Sir, I'm not hearing those motions again. On October 26th, I made a ruling on all of those motions, and you have not prepared the order to that effect. We're done with those motions.
It's in order.
Is that the May jury selection, Your Honor? Or
No, it's not. We're gonna do a July 25th jury, July 25th final settlement conference.
Okay.
August 9th.
July 25th, 2024.
Hold on, let me write this down here. And I'm also going to make a demand right now for compensation also for this making me proceed against my will under threat and duress to these so-called court proceedings in violation of my 13th Amendment right against slavery. All these court proceedings are against my right against slavery. So I'm entitled to compensation for all the court proceedings that I had to make in this case. Otherwise, I would have possibly been arrested. It was only under threat and duress. It wasn't by consent willingly.
Mr. Martin knows that the jury selection is in person, correct?
I haven't finished telling him all of that yet. I'm getting the dates. I'm gonna
Okay.
tell him in just 1 second.
Mhm.
All right. The final settlement conference in this case is going to be on July 25th, 2024 at 11 a.m. And that is on Zoom. The August 9th jury selection is in person, and that's at 8:30 a.m. on August 9th.
Hold on, July 25th, 24, right? 8 p.m. a.m. You said, right?
It's at 11 a.m., sir.
You know, I want to be understood. I'm not willingly giving up my right to be one of the sovereign people and by this jury, but you know.
Jury selection is August 9th, 2024 at 8:30 a.m.
You said 24th?
It's at 8:30 a.m. I meant to say 8:30 a.m.
You said the 24th now, or you say the 25th?
August 9th, 2024 at 8:30 a.m. is the jury selection, sir.
I thought you just said 7/25/24.
That is the final settlement conference. That is on Zoom.
Hold on, I got one thing at a time. Okay, now let's do the what's the other date now? August. What else?
August 9th
Okay.
at
What time?
8:30.
8:30, and what's that considered? What's that called there?
Jury selection, sir.
Now, which is in person here now? The 7/25/24, is that something I have to be there in person for? I'm being
For the fourth
threatened to come
time,
up
Mr.
there.
Martin, please listen. The first event, which is in July, is on Zoom. The last event is in person.
So we got it. So you're saying a whole bunch of wonders, you know.
All right, we're done
Yeah,
today. Have a good day, Mr. Martin. Bye-bye.
Okay, sir. So I am issuing a citation today, okay?
Don't mean shall. I'm going to get dismissed in court.
Okay, so you're being cited for driving while license suspended, revoked, or denied?
It's a lie. Now you're lying under oath. I didn't drive.
Okay, well,
Traveled by right. See?
okay.
Exactly.
Whatever the case may be with that, you can have that discussion in court, okay? You're also being cited for operating a motor vehicle with no insurance.
Fine again.
Without a security, because there's no insurance on that. And driving an unregistered vehicle, okay? Just as a vehicle. The vehicle's not... So regardless of your opinions
Federal
on
law
that...
says, ain't opinion. Federal law. I just showed him
Okay.
the federal law. Didn't I show you too? The federal law says that.
All right.
Motor vehicle.
Okay, so you have 10 days. You must contact the court within
Well, I don't
10
have
days.
to.
At that, no, you must.
Oh, I will, but I'm just saying.
Okay, well, if you know there will be a warrant for your arrest, so whatever you
And that
choose
would
to do
be
is up to you.
unlawful too, or
If you
what?
read the back, it'll give you options for dealing with
I always
citation.
appear because
All right.
I know how to handle myself in court anyway. What's your
Okay,
name?
very good. Trooper Sass, badge number 1230.
Okay, yeah. You're
Okay,
going
it's
to
on the
get in big
citation.
trouble for this.
Yep.
What should I tell you?
Right here.
You got a fight in your hand legally.
Here you go.
On this. You got a fight in your hand me.
That one is me.
This is Ypsilanti, right?
Correct. We're in Ypsilanti Township, 14B District Court.
See?
All right. Are you riding with them? Because you can't be on the freeway either. What are you doing for lunch?
The state law says